The world tells you to grind now and rest later. Hustle culture tells you that your worth is actually based on your productivity. Are you achieving more? Are you advancing further? Are you working harder? Because if you're not, then you're actually falling behind. The problem with that is that the Bible has a completely different definition of discipline. So what's the difference between biblical discipline and modern hustle? How do we know if we're actually walking in God's purpose and His plan for our life? We're running ourselves into the ground trying to achieve more. What's the difference? See, modern hustle culture tells you that grinding non-stop is the only way to achieve success, right? But biblical discipline, it's not about overworking, it's about obedience. It's about stewardship and trusting that God's got His own timing. So today, we're gonna break down 3 key ways to tell the difference between biblical discipline and modern hustle. See, modern hustle is about self-promotion and biblical discipline is about obedience. Culture tells you that your success is about your name, it's about your brand, it's about your recognition. And you see it all the time on social media. People are showing off their lifestyle. They're showing you that they've made it. They got the fancy cars, the nice house, but here's the problem. When did success become all about glorifying ourselves instead of God? See, Colossians 3, it talks about that whatever you do, not just some things, not just most things, it actually says whatever you do, meaning all things. Whatever you do, work at it. Work at it with all your heart as you're working for the Lord and not for human masters. And so the world says that you need to work to be seen, that you need to build a name for yourself, that you need to get validation from people. But the Bible actually flips that and it says you need to work for the Lord's name. You need to let Him be the one who actually elevates you. And instead of pursuing fame, you need to pursue faithfulness. This is why Jesus warns us in Matthew chapter 6. He says, be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them, because if you do, you will have no reward in heaven. So instead of asking, how can I get ahead? We got to start asking, how can I serve God with excellence in what I'm doing today? So if what you're doing is more about getting likes or more about getting followers or clout, it might be the world's version of success instead of God's version of success. In the world today, especially in the United States, man, rest is seen as weakness. Maybe you've heard people say some of these phrases or these quotes before, things like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or if you're not working all day, then somebody is outworking you. Or maybe you've heard this one, you have to earn your rest. But here's the thing, God literally commands us to rest. He talks about in Exodus, He says, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. See, rest is not a suggestion, it's not just what you want, it's actually a commandment. And when God created the world, He rested on the 7th day, not because He was tired, but because He was setting the pattern for us. And here's the truth. Hustle culture tells us that you got to earn your worth through work. But God tells you that your worth is already set, so you can rest in Him. And so when we refuse to rest, we're saying that we trust our own efforts more than we trust God. And so ask yourself, am I resting because I trust God, or am I overworking because I think everything depends on me? So here's what we got to do. We got to schedule intentional time to step away from work, to start resting and hit the reset button and spend that time with God without guilt. One of the biggest traps in hustle culture is chasing results. How much money am I making? How fast am I growing? How fast is my company growing? Am I better than my competition? When your focus is only on the end goal, what happens is you'll constantly feel like you're actually never enough. And in Proverbs 16, it hits on this, it says to commit the Lord whatever you do. Again, whatever you do, not just some things, all things, whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. See, here's the reality is that God cares more about your faithfulness than He does about your success. Right? Think about Noah. If you know the story of Noah in the ark in the Bible, he spent over 100 years building the ark before the flood even came. Imagine if he had quit because he didn't immediately see the results or immediately see the rain show up, or he didn't really see the full plan come to fruition quick enough, right? What would that have been like? So instead of thinking or asking, am I enough? Am I achieving my goals fast enough? Ask yourself, am I being faithful today to what God says and has given me? Success isn't about where you end up. It's about who you become along the way. So if you're caught up in the hustle trap, here's what you need to remember. Modern hustle is about self-promotion, and biblical discipline is about obedience. The second thing is that hustle culture runs on burnout, and biblical discipline runs on rest. And the third thing is that hustle focuses on the outcomes, while biblical discipline focuses on the faithfulness. God didn't call you to grind yourself into the ground. He actually called you to work hard, to rest, and then trust in His plan. Now I want to hear from you. What's one way that you can shift this week from the hustle culture to the biblical discipline in your life? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. If this video helped you out, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're serious about your faith and growth and your biblical discipline, then hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. So let's chase God's calling, not the world's hustle. And I'll see you in the next one.
Pastor Cody! It's Pastor Cody. Pastor Cody.